Hey, it's Eric, and this is a quick demo on getting started using SlideMatch. The first thing, I'm assuming that you have already been to SlidematchIntro.com and created a user account, downloaded the app, and then fired it up. When you did that, you should see something that looks a lot like this. And what happens now is that the app needs to be able to log into SlidematchIntro.com. So you need to enter your login information again. And for this demo, I'm going to start off with books. A lot of you are rating books, and they're pretty straightforward. So we're going to start with that, and then I'll move on and do songs after that. So the first thing you see is that SlideMatch is saying that it doesn't have any books, and that makes sense because we haven't entered any yet. So I'm going to go ahead and actually enter a book. And this is a book that I actually read a while back, but it's pretty good, so I'm going to just use that as my example here. And I read this back in the late 80s. I think it's been re-released since then, but so I'm putting the original year for my book. I'm not putting in an ISBN because I don't need to be that specific about it. If you really need to rate a very specific book, then you might want to fill that out. Otherwise, you can just leave it blank. So now I've got a book defined, and I'm going to rate it. In this case, I think this is kind of like a 4-star kind of a book. I think that the main audience, I wouldn't recommend this to anyone like, who is kids, because I think there's some sort of more adult things to consider in the book, but I think it'd probably be okay for, mature teen. So I'm putting it in as teen as my audience. And, I mean, I could potentially put it up for like, an adult audience. Young adult, I'll go with that. It's an autobiography. It's a bunch of anecdotes. I'm going to say they're pretty factual. And the focus on this is, it is sort of a series of anecdotes, but I'm going to say that this is a fairly character-focused kind of a thing. And the emotional responses, it's a pretty mild book, so I'm actually putting it as just kind of mild. And it's pretty engaging. I thought it was an engaging book anyway. I wouldn't say it's something you cannot put down. It's pretty easy to put down and pretty easy to pick up again, so I'm going to put it under engaging. In this case, I think it's probably worth putting in a comment about it, so I'm just going to write what I thought, which was mostly this was a fun read. And that's it. I have now rated a book. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And we're there. So that's pretty much all it takes to do the first part of the 3 R's, which is rating, retrieval, and recommendations. Retrieval, I can't really demo that with just one book, so I'm going to do that in a separate video later with a real account. Let me show you a couple of these, what some of these other buttons are for like recommendations and social stuff, and then we'll move on to music. So the first thing I want to show you, this tab over here, like if there's more things that you want to enter about this book, you might be interested in this More Info tab. You can do things like add tags here. So for example, I think I might just go ahead and tag this as an autobiography. And then I might go ahead and, if there are additional attributes that you feel you want to record with this, then I'll just give you an example. So for example, one attribute, there's additional authors, publishers, editors. So for additional author, for example, I might put in something, I think Ralph Layton was an additional author on this book. And if this book relates to other books, then you can add a relationship between this book and another. Anyway, that's the More Info tab. Let me show you what a few of these things do. These are all your social buttons, or most of your social buttons are up here. So this first button takes you to your site profile, which will take you to SlidematchIntro.com, which keeps a list of like all your best stuff, so your friends can see, what stuff you think's awesome and what you've been up to recently. And this button is really cool. It gets recommendations from your friends. And this account demo 4 doesn't have any friends set up, so it won't actually pull anything down. But at any point, you can poll and get latest recommendations from your friends for stuff that you haven't read yet. This is settings dialog that we saw when we first started up. The info button will take you to SlidematchIntro.com to show you more info about any particular thing. And this will show you like a couple of your site feeds for reports and things like that, so maybe your best 2 books for the month or things like that if you want to share them. This big share button down here is really useful if you want to tell everyone that you just finished reading this book and you want to post that either to Facebook or send someone an email about it. And if, like, this book I actually finished reading and I already own it, but if I wanted to, if I had a book that I wanted to, that I hadn't read yet, but I wanted to read, then I'd check this wish list checkbox. And then if I'm really lucky, maybe one of my friends will buy it for me. But that's pretty much it. So that's rating, that's some of the buttons, and now I think I'll show you music, because it's got a couple of more extra features. So movies and videos work very much the same way, and so we'll just go, yeah, music. So again, this is once again just saying that there's no music found, and that makes sense. So I'm going to click the add button again. And in this case, we've also got another option where I can read my music from what's on my computer. So I can like load up all my stuff so I don't have to enter it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to pull, I've actually got my stuff in a separate location. Which is under my Mixable directory. So I'm going to load that in. And at this point, I'm actually going to pause, and if you're doing this in real life, you may want to go get a cup of coffee because it can take a little while. So we'll be back in a sec when this is finished loading. And we're back. And SlideMatch wants to know if you should download default ratings. Yes, you want to do this. This will pull down average ratings from your friends and average ratings from the sites if none of your friends have rated it. So it'll fill out some stuff for you. And you'll notice that the status bar here tells you what it's doing while it's loading stuff in the background, like these default values. And SlideMatch went and pulled up a bunch of stuff, and it also fired up the player. So at this point, we're playing music. So we can now get to the point where we're thinking about, okay, well, let's go ahead and rate this thing. In this case, I don't know. I think I'm going to rate this as fairly high, like about 4 stars. And I'm actually going to go with these default slider values that just got pulled down. I think the energy level is probably about right. Required attention, it's fairly passive. It gets more challenging as it goes on. It starts out really nice, but I think that's actually a reasonable value. And yeah, that's about it. Unlike with books or movies or videos, saving of ratings happens automatically. So you don't really have to do anything. Just move the sliders as you're listening, and you're good to go. Now, you can use the player controls here to do things like skip or pause. And this is your playlist for what's coming up. So SlideMatch is just going to pull stuff based on your settings, and you can just edit this playlist, move it around as you want while it's going on. And that's about all it is to get started. I'm going to leave the rest of the stuff for the advanced video, so check that one next. Thanks.